everyone. Welcome to the season 1 finale of the Performers Pod. I'm so excited to have multi-AVN winner and just truly porn icon April Flores here. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me. I'm like blushing.
I mean, you're truly iconic, and especially when I first got into the industry, all my first AVN awards. My first AVN was the year you won your first one.
Nice.
And then I think I was there for like 2 or 3 of your AVN wins in the first few years.
Well, I only have 2, so you were there for both of
okay,
those.
I was there for both.
And then a few weeks ago, I was there for your award.
Yeah, that was wild. And we were both at the Why Not Cam Awards at the Cam 4 table. And yeah, I haven't talked about this on the pod, but yeah, I won, and that was really cool. A lot of adrenaline. Just a lot.
Yeah, can we talk about your speech really briefly, or do you want to save that for another?
Yeah, 100%. I just ran on stage. I'm like, this is for the girls and the gays. It just ran off.
That was iconic.
Like, I have a real speech and I like posted it, and there's like all this meaningful stuff about mental health and all this stuff. But at the time, I'm like, that's what I'm feeling. We were the first table. So I'm like, I'm getting up there now before they're like, oh, we accidentally gave it to someone else. I'm just like, I'm going to run on there as fast as I can.
We really were steps, a mere steps from the stage. That was really fun. It was the first time that we've had an in-person thing since January 2020, before everyone's life changed. How did you feel there?
I felt really safe. My partner and I also went to a wedding right before, and it was supposed to be a fully vaccinated wedding, and they didn't check anyone's records, and no one was wearing masks. So yeah, after going to the porn award show, I'm like, oh, this is fine. They're checking everyone's records. Yeah, San Diego's on a whole different thing. There's way less masks than in the Bay Area or LA. So
yeah,
how did you feel about it?
It felt really cool. Award shows are always very mixed for me in conventions and stuff, because the amount of stamina it requires. I mean, this was just a one night show, so it was fine.
Well, no, there was a whole week of conventions and stuff too.
You're right.
Yeah, definitely did not go to any, but like I think there were people doing every day of panels and all that stuff.
Yeah. I
walked by the hotel that it was going on at, and it looked like it was jumping for sure.
It felt good. The really part of conventions and award shows and parties that I love is just seeing people that we have like this really unique bond, because do we see each other every day? Some of us do, maybe, but for the most part, no. But I think since we have a very shared, similar life, like struggles and stuff that we could understand, like I feel like it baseline gives us a connection, a familiarity, that community, that we are able to identify with each other. Like, I have plenty of friends, but no one can really understand a lot of the microaggressions and aggressions and wins and struggles and good stuff and the intricacies and dealing with clients, like all these things, like another performer can. And that's what I fucking love.
Yeah, it's really just a magical thing to just be like, okay, this is really people from all around the country. There were a few international people for this award show, but like at AVN, it's truly worldwide, where it's like the biggest porn star from Kentucky is there. Like everywhere is like so represented, and you really realize like what you're doing is special, and that it's really this whole worldwide thing, and you're all part of this.
Yeah.
I think the industry can feel so small, especially in LA and Vegas, because it's like, okay, everyone's here. Everyone lives in these 3 suburbs of LA. Everyone lives, outside of Vegas and does content trade, and we know everyone. Just truly like how global it is the thing that's impressed me the most about this podcast I've done, where it's like I've talked to performers from South America, I've talked to people doing porn in Europe and Japan. Like truly, there's just so many people doing porn everywhere. And I feel like we have this really unique thing with each other that
I
we really
agree.
understand.
Yeah, and okay, so like the global aspect of performers should indicate. I mean, I think if you're someone's listening to your podcast, they think that porn is fine.
I would hope
So
so.
I'm not gonna have any hot takes here, but the global aspect of like the performers should indicate that everyone is sexual, and
Hmm.
a lot of most people like watch the shit, especially now that it's so accessible, you know. Do you find that the attitude towards porn is changing at all?
I I think it's just more mainstream than ever. Like
Yeah.
even when people are like, oh, in the 70s, you would have celebrities see like Deep Throat and stuff. Like that's obviously like the quote unquote golden age of porn. But even if you just think about what the last 3 or 4 AVNs were, like you can easily watch the news today and see photos from AVN, whether
Yeah.
it's referencing a lawyer who was there or like Stormy Daniels or like whoever else. Like
Right.
you see that stuff often now. And it's just so different. And like if you look at like Cardi B performing and then winning a Grammy the next weekend, when I first came into this industry, even like 2013, it was not like that.
Mhm.
Your AVN like musical guests were kind of second tier performers. Or
Right.
even or even like Doja Cat last year, or 2 years ago, I guess now. Like she's up for Grammys now. And it's like we had that experience that they're spending as much at like as real award shows on these musical guests and stuff. It's just so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that the performers would be open to like, going there, because I know a lot of people, we all have to think like, how is this going to impact my brand or my fucking
Hmm.
brand? And this includes Doja Cat and Cardi B. Like they have major, major, major brands,
Yep.
and
Huge.
they still did it. So I think
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. I think it's just really changed. But even like Beyonce is referencing OnlyFans in a song that won a Grammy. Like, this is not the stuff that was happening, you know, 5, 6 years ago. I just feel like
Yeah.
we're really at a super visible point, and I think it's just really unique. And also like how it's changed during the pandemic. I've had some people on this podcast who've only started doing sex work, well, only doing porn since the pandemic started. So their entire careers in this weird pandemic bubble. And it's just so interesting that there's so many new people in this industry.
Yeah, lots of different entry points. And the pandemic, I'm interested in hearing those because yeah, work was cut off for a lot of people, and then they
Mhm.
had, wanted to. I um sometimes, like when the pandemic started, I had a handful of people I know that were like, "Oh, I might have to start doing OnlyFans," kind of as a joke, but I don't know. I took offense to that because
For
this is
sure.
not this is not a fallback career,
Hmm.
and this is not a career that you're gonna make lots of money in easily. I mean, maybe out in the 90s it was, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're from LA, so like I'm sure you were you really aware of porn in like the 90s and what it was like there?
My introduction to the porn as an industry was in 97. 1997. I had a boyfriend, and he was an editor. He used to edit, or he had been an editor at Hustler, editing videos. And when I met him, he was doing something else, but he was still like very prideful of that, like
Hmm.
editor, Hustler. And he had a friend that still worked at the magazine, and that was my first introduction to, oh shit, this is like a real industry and people have jobs outside of just performing.
Hmm.
And he would tell me stories. um and yeah, so I was like, oh wow, this is like a real thing. Back then I didn't ever imagine myself to become a performer. And in fact, like when he would tell me stories, I would get kind of like creeped out, and like now looking back, it's just that he was creepy, not that porn was creepy, because he would say like, yeah, I was shopping at the store and I saw like so and so shopping, like, oh, who fucking cares, right? But he would like report back to me. So yeah, I don't know. I think I went off topic. Sorry.
Oh no, this is all about off topic. Like,
Okay.
if we can just get like an hour of you talking about anything and everything vaguely related to porn or even not related to porn,
Okay.
perfect season finale, 100%.
Okay, so let me keep going on.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
I won't name him, but his name, we'll just call him like Jose.
Okay.
Okay, so
Jose the
Jose,
editor. Okay.
the editor. So yeah, he was not the best partner, So and I was young, I was like 21, so
Mhm.
I didn't really know better. Or I didn't know what I know now, I should say. So yeah, we broke up, and then I got with Carlos Bass, my late husband.
Yeah.
And when we got together, he was shooting for, porn magazines, and he was shooting me. And um it was really hard for me because I only had the reference of Jose that Jose gave me, like,
Mm.
yeah, like these directors are, fucking everybody, and there's these parties. He just painted a really wild picture that is not at all accurate to my experience. But anyway, this was Jose's view, or maybe he was lying, I don't know, his experience, and he told me all these things. So when I met Carlos, I had this like idea of what porn was, like
Mhm.
seedy and everyone fucking everybody, which is very inaccurate, not at
Yeah.
all the truth. But that's what I had conjured in my mind because of Jose's
I
stories.
mean, honestly, that's still what I think about 90s porn. I'm like,
Okay.
everyone was on coke, everyone had like the biggest fake boobs, like
So maybe
everyone
this
had
was
like
happening.
tan lines.
And so when I met Carlos, he was shooting models while I was, working and stuff. And my head was just spinning with like, oh my God, what's happening? Whatever.
Mhm.
And one day Carlos went to like direct a video, and he was really excited, and I was like, I can't do this, like I can't be with a pornographer, like he's probably on set like fucking everyone. Like I spun, right? Like I was like, I'm
Yeah.
leaving, he's gone all day, like I'm gonna leave. I can't do this. Was really early, like a month or so into our relationship. So I planned on leaving. I was gonna break up with him, and then I was like, you know what? Let me just check in with Jose. Like I don't know why. Let me just like check in with him. And this was prior to text. This was the year 2000.
Yeah.
So I called Jose, and he answered, and so I was like, I don't know what the conversation was, but I think I talked to him about, what Carlos was doing or whatever. And it wasn't what Jose said, it was the way he talked to me that
Mm.
reminded me how shitty he was in his like his treatment of me was so awful. And I had this great guy who would never talk to me the way Jose was talking to me. And I was planning on leaving this guy because he was going off and directing porn. And I was like, you know what? Regardless of like what Carlos is doing on set, like I have to trust him. And it took me years to do that. But um just basing on like how Jose treated me, comparing that with how
Mhm.
Carlos treated me, I was like, I don't care. I'll deal with it. Like, I need to look at the value of this human outside of like what he's doing to fucking make money and also to express himself. So yes, that's a story I've never told before.
That's an amazing story though. Like I really love about this podcast is that most people like you just never get to know how their like real porn origin story. And I would have never assumed that you were like, yeah, I just like didn't trust porn. I couldn't be with a porn person. And then you become like one of the most iconic like plus size porn performers.
Yeah, after I got off the phone with Jose, I was like, okay, Carlos is quality. Then I went to the store and I like bought ingredients and I made him a lasagna. So when he got home from set, there was like lasagna, and he was like, okay, cool.
Oh my god, that's so amazing. That's so like how did you go from having those views to being like porn something I want to do? Because like obviously we're taking photos and stuff with Carlos, but like when did it switch to like I want to do like porn on video and like actually perform, you know?
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. So yeah, I learned that okay, it's not all like Jose had said.
Hmm.
Um, and Carlos and I were always shooting. Side note, I'm so pissed off that he's like not here anymore for so many reasons. Additionally, I don't have a camera person anymore.
Yeah,
So
like just the amount of work he would have made and like how influential would be, especially now where porn has become, like
yeah,
for
like the
sure.
now that we're able to, directly interact and
Hmm.
sell and connect with our consumers. That didn't exist back then, but yeah, when I'm like setting up my fucking lights and like doing selfies, I'm like, not all the time, but sometimes I'm like, this would be much easier if Carlos was here. But yeah, that's a side note. So we were shooting all the time and working on a book project which eventually was published in 2013 called Fat Girl. So
Everyone should
he
get that. You can find it like
yes,
any sex store in the world, I feel like.
Get Fat Girl by Carlos Batts, published by Rare Bird. So he shot Belladonna for a magazine and she
Wow.
saw me in his portfolio and she liked my look. And so Carlos and I thought we could ask Belladonna to be, like shot for our book project. But when we met up with her, she was really ahead of her time, like way, way, way ahead of her time. She's
Yeah,
like,
like I had no idea that that was the connection. I'm like in awe. I'm like, whoa, so like you got into porn from Belladonna? Oh my god.
yeah, it's the first woman I
Wow.
had sex with.
Okay. See, I'm like still too much of like a big like mid 2000s alt porn fan where like certain names come up. I'm just like complete fangirl. Excuse me on that.
um, so we met with her and she was like, yeah, sounds cool, but no, I don't shoot anything that's not for my company. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, cool, interesting. And she's like, would you want to do a scene with me? And I was like, I've never even considered that. Like, I don't even watch porn. And you know what? Fuck it. Why not? Like, I'll have this experience, like I'll just know in my head, like, haha, I did a porn a long time, like when I'm old, I'll just
Yeah,
have like
just to
this
be like,
little,
oh, I did it.
yeah,
You know, a good
yeah,
story. Yeah, I
right,
feel
right.
that.
Good story. Like sitting in my rocking chair, like giggling to myself. But the experience was really great, and I was Carlos and I were friends with people who were performing and directing, so
Hmm.
it wasn't totally like out of the blue. It was really like very much in our circle. So then yeah, my friends started hiring me and I just kind of like slowly snowballed from there. So it wasn't intentional, but once I got into doing more of it, I was like, okay, I need a reason to keep doing this in addition to loving to get paid for sex stuff. Like I love that, performing and all this, like and so that's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this, um to represent, a fat
Hmm.
body experiencing pleasure and a fat body that is desirable, for other fat people and skinny people, for
Yeah.
everybody.
I mean, yeah, everyone's watching your porn. Wow, that's so amazing. I had no idea that was your story, how you got into porn.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So, was it just like after the first scene, you're like, okay, I want to do this for real? Or was it just like naturally just started building up and you're like, oh, okay, I think this is a thing I can do?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. Like when I left, I felt like I was walking on air, like, oh my
Mm,
God, that is so cool. Because I had been shooting still photos for 5 years leading up to that. So I was really comfortable in front of the camera. And I had an orgasm and I was able to perform. And on the set was just Carlos, me, Belladonna, and her husband at the time, Aiden.
mhm.
And so it was really closed, really comfortable, safe. environment. I'm very privileged to have entered this way on these type of sets because I know this is not the norm.
Yeah.
So I do acknowledge that my experience is really highly privileged, and all my friends were doing, well, not all my friends, but a lot of my friends were performing and directing. So um, I entered in a really unique way. That's why when some people ask, like, how do I start? I'm like, I don't know. People don't really ask me that anymore because I think it's kind of like Google it. But before I would be like, I don't know, like, I don't know, like, can't tell
There's
you.
just so many ways to get into this
Mhm,
industry. And it's just
mhm.
like, it makes sense though. That's how you got into the industry though. Like, I feel like when you see people be successful at something, it's usually because they're surrounded by it. And then they're like,
Mm,
oh, this is a thing I should pursue. Like,
mhm.
it totally makes sense that you would have this whole career and everything that came out of it when you're already like, oh, I know this person and this person. And yeah, I'm open to trying this and feeling comfortable in that situation.
Yeah, yeah, I was already plugged in. Like, Kimberly Kane was a friend of mine. Well, we're
Mm,
still, we're still friendly, but she's not in LA anymore. So we would go to like the same parties. We had a lot of mutual friends. So she hired me like for maybe my second scene. Um, yeah, so I was really lucky and privileged.
that's so amazing. Yeah, I'm sure just being in LA has to kind of just keep you more like, because are you from LA specifically?
Yeah,
Yeah, so like it's not like you're moving across the country and being like, I'm pursuing a dream or whatever. You're like, oh, I'm here.
yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah. Like, I'm here. I'm at a party. My friend's doing a movie. Okay, I'll be in it,
Yeah.
like that. And then once I started performing a little bit more. I was on more sets, and then Carlos started like bringing me along on shoots that he was directing, and I
Mhm.
really saw like, wow, this is not at all like how Jose had told me. It's a lot, like it's a fucking job. It's work. Like everyone is like doing a job here. So that's when I was like fully like, oh, okay, now I get it. I had to be in it to get it.
Yeah, I really feel like it's until you're on your first porn set, you have no idea what it's like and what the
Yeah.
experience is. And it's just like, oh, yeah, there's just like people having sex over there, and everyone else is just like filming and being really quiet, be like, you can't make any noise.
Yes.
It's like very boring to be on a porn set if you're not like directly involved though. Like I've been on so many sets where I'm just like, I'm just gonna go into the other room and just like watch Netflix.
Yeah. For anyone that's curious about a porn set, most of people are just on their phones.
Yeah. Yeah. Like literally until the porn starts, like the performance starts, everyone's just looking at their phone and not and barely talking. It's
Right.
kind of like every other workplace if you think about it. It's just like everyone's in their own stuff and they're like, okay.
That's such a good comparison.
Yeah. How do you usually like prepare for porn scenes? Like, do you have a bunch of like things you do to get ready or
Yeah. Like I the first when I get the email or the message, like, okay, that's going, and then um planning, like, if it's a trade, planning those details. If it's
mhm.
like a work, like a job, I don't know how to call it, a paid gig, I
Yeah,
guess.
like a pay gig essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Get the email about that. So from that moment, I'm just like, okay, this is gonna happen. Then, the day of, like, the night before, I like pack all my stuff, get everything ready, shave if I need to shave. And then the day of, I just, shower. Hopefully there's makeup on set, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's
If not,
always the best thing.
yeah. If not, I do my stuff. I'm usually running late, so the day of is like just a whirlwind of just like running late, and trying to go to Starbucks to get like some type of food or drink to have on set, because most sets don't have food.
I've had the opposite issue in LA. So because I like in every like studio scene, I'm always like bottoming, so I can't eat
uh
anything all day.
Oh
So
shit.
every single one I've been on, they have like huge food spreads, and I'm just like, I can't eat anything. It's the worst. They're like, oh yeah, we have catering and stuff. I'm just like, no, I literally cannot.
Oh no. But after you've seen, you can eat.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing I love too. Like after a scene, I'm just ready to fucking have a burger or like some type of like meal.
Yeah, like something serious.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny is you kind of brought up like porn stars, we know we're gonna have sex with someone in like a month, and you have this whole month like building up to that. I feel like it's kind of like fighters where it's like, oh, I'm gonna fight this person in like 2 months, but it's that for sex. And it's like this very weird experience because you're just like, that's not how sex usually works, where you like plan 2 months in advance, you know?
Yeah, totally. I have this performer. We've been trying to, get our schedules aligned, and we text like once a week. He'll be like, I'm in LA. I'm like, oh shit, I'm in Alaska, where I was a few days ago. Like, oh, I'm not tested all the time because I don't work all the time.
Yeah.
So he'll be like, oh, I'm in LA. I'm like, I'm not tested, dude. Like, you gotta give me a heads up. Um, yeah, it's really cool. Uh, but also like now that I'm single, I'm finding that like I don't know, like do you talk to a lot of single like sex workers?
I don't know. I'm trying to think.
The reason I bring it up is because like, you're saying we plan months in advance, and that's not how it is like in real life. And I
Yeah.
feel I feel like because of pandemic and I'm single, so I've really like not I don't really have a sex life outside of work. I'm just wondering like how is that affecting my like trying to date and like trying to translate it to like real life. I don't know. Maybe this is a
I can't imagine dating during the pandemic. Like, yeah, I just can't. Yeah, my partner and I moved in like a month or two before the pandemic started. So it's just kind of been locked in since, where I'm just like, the only sex workers I really talk to are people on this show and basically the people at Trouble Films.
yeah.
And I think most of them are in relationships
Yeah.
of some sort. So yeah, that's kind of just my thing. But other than that, it's all just people who are kind of in the tech world here.
Oh
So
yeah.
my whole like thing has shifted so much without traveling, because you go to Berlin for a festival, or you go to Vegas or LA, you're hanging out with all these people who you only see in that context. Like, okay, you might live in the Bay Area, but I only see you in Berlin because we're both there for a festival, you know?
That's so
So
real.
yeah, it's such an interesting thing with being a porn performer, because you really have this whole group of people who and like you might have performed with and stuff, and you only see each other like twice a year, but
Hmm.
like totally industry peers. It's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, but that thing of like being in the same city is so real because the other day my friend and I, she also performs. We were like, okay, I'm gonna be in New York this time. Oh my God, she's like, she's leaving the day before I get there. And we're just going on and I'm like, oh, that sucks, whatever. I'm like, dude, you live in like North Hollywood. I'm in Pasadena. Like we can meet here.
So funny. Yeah, it becomes just such a weird thing. I think specifically during the pandemic, like I've only been on one set in the last 2 years. So I feel like you don't have that much of like kind of the whole peer thing.
Yeah, I love being on set. I've been on a few more sets than you have, but not that many. And it's so magical, right?
It really is. It's just like the thing that like made it feel so like special to me after was just like, oh wow, we all came together and we all made this thing. And before, when we walked in there, we didn't have a plan for it and we just figured it out. I'm just like,
Yeah,
that's so magic. Like,
it's magic.
I did a really intense BDSM scene. That's great and all, but like, it's more like the overall meaning, I feel like. And that's what I think really keeps me coming back to porn. And yeah, it's just my favorite medium. Like, I've played in bands, I've done all sorts of different art, but I think porn's just so special.
It is an art medium. Like it's me
Hmm.
it's part of media, and it is a form, I at least I feel like a form of like art. Although a lot of the stuff that I create have created during pandemic, I wouldn't classify as art just because of the demand for new content is so high
Hmm.
that like for me right, it's like this thing about quantity over quality because the consumers like it's just not just porn media. Like, I'm sure all creators feel like this insatiable monster that needs to be fed all content all the time, like new
Yeah.
ideas, new stuff, new videos, no clips. I got burnt out. I got sick of masturbating, you know. Um so yeah, I feel like in terms of like my performing being an art form in the last year, I don't want to say all of it was,
Hmm.
but it's definitely a way I express myself.
Yeah, I feel like porn's is very like interesting combination of like athleticism, like a very specialized skill and like performance that's like an artistic thing because actually I had Nika Noel on earlier, I think it was earlier this week or last week. And just like that, all porn performers automatically cheat out to the camera without even thinking. It's just what you know how to do. You always show the penetration. And she's just like, yeah, I wanted to like have natural porn, and everyone just naturally like cheats out to the camera. I just have to be like, no, just like get closer. We don't need to see. I just feel like it's such a thing that it's like there's all these little things that we don't even think about that you just kind of learn from being on set and just being like, okay, I don't want to cover up the shot. I don't want to ruin this for this videographer who's right there. Like, there's a lot of, just unique things about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do, like, when I'm hooking up outside of work, I still am, arching my back and like doing
Hmm.
all the things. Like, but the camera is now like this person's eyeballs, so they're getting a fucking great show, a great time.
Yeah,
Chelsea,
I definitely feel with like sex stuff. I can definitely turn on porn star mode like really fast. And yeah, yeah, it's a funny thing because my partners always know about it and then they're like, oh, that's where that's coming from. It's just like there's definitely like just those moves and like I think just like energy output that is important that you can do that in your everyday sex life. It seems so intense and so like out of place. But I think that's really like the beautiful thing about porn is you are legitimately having sex with some of like the people who are the best at it in the world, and you're able to push yourself and all of that stuff back and forth. But
yeah, it really is. I do. I feel like when I'm performing with someone, like I fall in love with them for that time. Like we are, I
hmm,
don't know, like we're there, and it's energy exchange, and we're both wanting to like do a great job. So yeah, I do love that part of it.
yeah, I tweeted about this today. I'm like, it's your job as a performer. I feel like to make the person you're performing with look like the best performer in the world and just be like,
Ooh.
wow, they look anyone could come from 2 seconds for them. It looks like, like that's what I feel like you're like half of what being a porn performer is. It's just making the person you would look really amazing.
I love that. I've never even considered that. So thank you for that advice.
I've been
Moving forward.
yeah, I'm getting real meta about porn. This is what happens when I do this podcast and I'm not doing any other things other than like porn stuff where I'm just like full in.
I
Yeah,
love it.
love it. Same, right? I'm like, it's great. The more I can talk about porn, the better. So you've shot kind of all over LA, but I'm assuming you've shot in other places. Is LA your favorite place to shoot, or do you like performing in other cities more?
That's a really good question. I guess I prefer LA just because it's, home, very
Mm.
familiar. I have shot in Vegas, New York. I think that's Toronto I've shot. Maybe Toronto. I'll just say Toronto because that was when the Feminist Porn Awards were a thing, and that was always really magical because to begin with, it was a really great selection of just a great collection of people,
Hmm.
and then we would perform there in this like really beautiful hotel, which I don't remember the name, but it was a very artistic like hotel. All the rooms were different. Yeah, maybe Toronto.
That's so cool. Yeah. I think that's the first Canadian city that anyone named. So that's great. Canada deserves porn love for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I have a few more questions for you because we've talked for a minute now and I want to keep you all day. Um, so what do you think has been part of your ability to just continue making great stuff in porn? Like most people don't win one AVN in their life that you won Was it back to back, right?
Back to back, yeah.
What like what do you think that you have, or is it like your work ethic that really got you to that point, do you think? Or do you think it's just your passion for just continuing to make porn?
I don't know. I don't know what got me to, you know, win the awards, but what has kept me around for I think 16 years now.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
thank you.
really impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking last night, like I think my porn anniversary is it's in October. So it might
Mm,
be like around now. Um, what's kept me doing it for so long is just that I think, the community
mm,
and expressing myself via sex and being in front of the camera. I just love it. I love the whole thing. I love getting paid for sex work. That's like 50% of like I don't know. I fucking love it.
yeah.
Right?
Like it's yeah, truly just the feeling of doing porn performance is just so unique, and it's all of yourself that you're giving to the scene. It's just like truly a unique kind of performance, and I feel like people who've never performed before don't fully understand that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like
Um yeah, so I just love it and I don't know. I want to keep doing it until like um I don't know. I don't ever want to stop.
yeah, I'm like, you could do this for the rest of your career. I don't think there's any lack of demand for 16 more years of April Flores content. I'm sure like
Yes.
everyone's down for that. That's so
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll move through all of the life stages. That's the one thing though that is a little bit interesting is that like I'll look at like someone like on Twitter, someone will post a photo from like 2007 or whatever, right? And I'm just like, oh shit, like I'm aging, that's the thing that's really
Yeah.
like fucking with my head a little bit. Like, wow, I'm aging in like this public way, which is kind of public, not really public, but like in my eyes, I'm like, there's a
Yeah,
difference. Like I look,
we're like famous among the right people. If you're
yeah,
in
I
the
love
right
that.
room, you're famous. But like I feel like it's a good level because it's like doesn't really affect you if you're walking down the street or going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
For the most part, I've had a few people recognize me at the grocery store, which was like a little bit strange. Like there was this lesbian who was just like staring at me at Costco once. My partner was like, "Is this person hitting on you?" I'm like, "No, I think they're a fan and they're too afraid to say anything."
Yeah, I love your answer. We're famous among the right people. um, my niece was like, I have a niece, and she was like maybe 7, and we were walking in the mall, and she just like she got in front of me, and she stopped, so we stopped. She's like, "Are you famous?" I was like, uh, to some people, I didn't know how to answer that.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's especially being in LA, like the level of fame in LA is so wild that it's like there's real legitimately famous people everywhere. Where me being from a small town of like 30,000 people, it's like, "Oh, yeah, you have like 20,000 Twitter followers. That's like more than like half of the city. You're famous." Yeah, LA
yes,
has to
same.
be a very strange place because there's so many people who have thousands and thousands of followers and they're just going about their day.
Yeah, it is a really unique place. And you do see celebrities out, Um, yeah, I love LA.
I'm I have to be in it for such a short amount of time. I'm afraid of the person I become in LA. I'm too influenced by my surroundings. So I'm just like terrified that I become like just like maxing out credit cards for like dumb things and just too much workaholic bullshit and just like, yeah, I can't do that. Because when you're in LA and you're like doing entertainment industry stuff, it feels too good and it scares me. Where it's like, oh, I'm going to set. Oh, we passed the Hollywood sign on the way to set. Oh, I'm having someone do my makeup. I'm being paid to shoot like a scene right now. It's too much. Or even just like winning an award in LA. That felt like a lot.
Yeah, I get, since I'm from here, it's different, I guess, but yeah, I could totally see how that's a thing.
Yeah, it has to be such a different perspective because yeah, your life is there. You just like grew up in that city.
Yeah. Chelsea, you have the best smile. Like, I don't know why I haven't
Oh,
noticed until,
thanks.
yeah.
I
I'm just like
appreciate that.
mesmerized.
Thanks. That means a lot. Um, yeah. So do you think like if you weren't from LA, do you think you would have still gotten into porn, or do you think it was just kind of partially your surroundings?
Yeah, no, if I wasn't from LA, I would not be in porn. It was totally like circumstantial, I guess the word is.
Hmm.
Like, I wouldn't have met Carlos and I wouldn't have the group of friends that I did. And I don't know what I would be doing if I didn't live in LA. But also, like, a lot of people I know that are from here, like people I went to high school with, like they're not doing this either. Like they have more of like the quote unquote normal,
Hmm.
like the kids and the fucking soccer and the dog and Dodger games and all that shit. Like that's cool if that's what you like, but that's not what I like. So um I do I used to have a lot of like moments where I was just like, whoa, this is like my life is like nothing like my people I went to high school with. Like I don't feel like that. I don't really think about that anymore. But there was like a few years in my life I was just like, well, I think when everyone was like having babies,
Mm.
I think that's when I was just like, oh yeah, they got the minivan and the dog and the soccer. Um, yeah, now I'm just like, oh, I think I've accepted it. That's
Mm.
not gonna be what I do. And that's okay. I kind of love it.
Yeah, I think that's a unique thing about LA that there's like super famous people. There's people from there who are just living a totally normal life in just like Glendale or whatever. It's just like such a whole different like, and then there's like people who are like the most talented person from their hometown, and then they like no money at all in LA and like working the worst jobs. It just feels like there's so many kind of stories behind it where I feel like here in the Bay, it's like, oh yeah, if someone's not doing well, it's because of, oh yeah, they got priced out with rent or this. But in LA, it seems like everyone has like such grand stories almost that they came there and they have all these gigantic dreams to be the next Tom Cruise and everything.
Yeah, this place is really unique because it does attract so many people. There's so much opportunity. Um, but it's like a million people fighting for like 8 jobs.
Yeah, totally.
Um, it's it's a really fascinating place to me. Really, also dark. I feel like there's like this glitz, like, but also like there's darkness under that glitz.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of darkness, and that's like there's a few documentaries I watched. There's one about all like the superheroes on the sun on
Oh, on
Hollywood
Hollywood.
Boulevard.
Yeah.
Did you see that documentary?
No, I should though.
It's so dark, but it's also like really interesting because there's like one guy who's Superman and he's just obsessed with Superman and he's like, this is my duty. And then there's like a guy who looks like George Clooney who plays Batman who's like super like dirty and stuff and tries to fight like kids and stuff. It has like all these troubles, and yeah, in this like woman playing Wonder Woman who's like, I came here to be a pop star like 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, Hollywood specifically. I lived there for a long, long, long time with Carlos, and like even when I was a kid, I didn't really go to Hollywood Boulevard
Mm,
often. So one day my neighbor was like, "Well, let's go to Hollywood. Like, let's go to Hollywood Boulevard." No, no, no. She was like, "Let's go to the Beverly Hills one, whatever, Rodeo. Let's go to
yeah,
Rodeo." And
yeah,
I was like, "Why? I want to go to Hollywood. I want to see fucking famous people." I was like maybe 12.
yeah.
And she's like, "No, Hollywood Boulevard is disgusting." And it kind of still is. I
Oh, it
mean, they're
is.
they're fixing it up, which is like the status that it is now is like the best it's ever been, like in my lifetime. And it's still kind of really like sleazy.
Yeah, I never stayed in Hollywood until this last trip. And yeah, we walked around during the day before the awards, and it was literally just like, why would anyone want to live here? This like There's just like random like celebrity stars, and it looks like they were like paid for and stuff. And yeah, everything's not really great. Yeah, I mean, obviously we have a lot of like homelessness and stuff in SF where you see that stuff, but I feel like in LA there's just this darkness to it that's all next to all this like really fancy stuff and all these brand new everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really, the extremes are really um evident there. And I think that's indicative of this fucking city. Like, there's all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very good explanation of LA. I'm really happy we got to talk about that. So I have one more question for you. This is my favorite one I ask everyone at the end
Okay.
of it.
Yeah.
If tomorrow you could wake up and one thing could magically be changed in porn, what would you have it be?
Mm, one thing be changed in porn. Oh God, one thing?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do like multiple wishes, you can do that too. I'm not
Oh,
I'm
I
not
love that.
I'm not gonna gatekeep that. You're fine. Of like however you want to
uh,
take it.
no, I know. Yeah, damn, Chelsea, this is a deep question.
Oh, okay. I can talk about mine if you want.
Yeah.
I want this like the whole like people who are doing content trade and all that stuff to move forward like 5 years, because I think that's gonna get rid of a lot of these studios. They're still upholding like racist practices and like transphobic and fat phobic and just kind of all the bad things that are kind of in porn. So I'm hoping that with content trade, it's going to be more about the performers, and the performers are going to be making a majority of the money. So I think the industry will be a more ethical place. But at the same time, what we're seeing in Vegas now with people like faking STI tests and stuff for the ability to shoot more content because they feel like they have to keep up,
Yeah.
I think that's a massive issue. But I think overall, I think it's going to be the best for the industry.
Yeah. I guess my answer is something along the same lines as you said, just like giving the performers, I mean, we already have so much power. Like, the studios must be shitting in their pants if they're still even around. Like,
Yeah, especially after the whole pandemic, like a lot of these studios are not coming back and are not going to have the power they have anymore.
yeah, I guess I would like to see some type of like resource center for like new performers, and
Mm.
like classes or like editing, and just like maybe like one center for all the resources. And this is already like assuming that your wish came true, which is, I think, inevitable, right?
Yeah,
um a place for us to get healthcare. That's,
yeah,
like
that's so needed.
a place for us to like at this one like place where like we get help, we get our insurance, we get our taxes done, like all of the stuff that we need help with, or I need help with. um just like at one, like a one stop place, that would be really cool.
Do you know about St. James Infirmary in SF?
I know the name, but I don't know what they do.
So they essentially give free healthcare to any sex worker. So you
What?
can go in there, like I've got hormones through them. I got a year free therapy, and that's how I ultimately found my therapist through them. Um, yeah, like if you're homeless, they actually have a house that they can put you in that's like
Wow.
divided up with all these other sex workers, and there's a wait list for it. Yeah, just really giving you resources for everything. They do needle exchange, everything you can imagine essentially. They're actually looking for a new home in SF, so hopefully that happens. But yeah, that's where I go through my doctor and all that stuff. It's such an amazing thing, and I just really wish there was more resources like that. The only real problem with St. James is they're just serving so many people and they're so
Mm,
short staffed.
mm.
So they have like, I think maybe one or two doctors for the whole clinic, and there's a million trans people going here for trans healthcare because they do oh, what's the term I'm trying to remember? Where like you sign off on consent, informed consent, that's what it is.
Oh.
Haven't had to talk about informed consent hormones in a while. So um yeah. So you can really do everything. You can do testing there.
Ooh. Wow.
Mhm.
We need more of those. They can in more cities.
Yeah, I've advised everyone, if you have extra money and you want to support a sex worker based thing, donate to St. James there. It's all run by sex workers too and former sex workers. So it's just such a great experience to just be able to talk about sex work in a non-judgmental way with a therapist and just be like, hey, camming sucks this week. I'm stressed out about getting ready for this scene, and not just kind of have the answer be like, oh, you shouldn't be in porn.
Yeah, let's talk about your choice of job.
Yeah. Where it's just like, oh, they understand, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's super cool. I feel bad that I didn't know what they do until like this moment, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah, if you weren't in SF though, you wouldn't have a reason to, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, true.
yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, I've been going to them for I think like, yeah, ever since I moved to California, so like 8, 9 years. And it's been
Wow.
yeah, really great experience. Sometimes prescriptions run a little bit late, but other than that, it's great.
Nice.
Um, yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about or express about
Um,
porn?
no, I just feel really privileged to be still be doing this. And if you want to like find more of my work, go to my OnlyFans, even though I'm really pissed off at them. Like, not a lot of people moved. I tried to like funnel my subscribers to another platform, but I lost a lot of subscribers and not really many moved over. So I don't know. I don't like, we don't have to talk about that, but I'm salty.
Oh, you're good. You're it's yeah, it's I'm like it's this industry, like that's part of it. If we can't talk about that,
Yeah.
you know, it's real as hell. Like, yeah, I really hope that like AVN Stars really takes off because I feel like it's the industry actually doing it as opposed to a
Mm,
third party than being like, oh, we can't with porn. AVN's never gonna be like no porn. Like that's
right.
all AVN is.
That's true.
Well, I had such a great time chatting with you, April.
Likewise.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna see each other again soon. Hopefully, award shows fully come back in the next few years. And yeah, it was so great to spend the Why Not Awards with you, and yeah, hang out and win that award, and
Yes.
also go on stage with Jesse Lee and have that slightly awkward thing where they're like, Chelsea, we're giving you the microphone, except on behalf of Cam 4. I'm like,
Yeah, that was
okay.
well, you got two opportunities to go up there and talk, so that was cool.
Yeah, it was second one. I don't know how much I used of it, but it was full adrenaline and I'm happy about it. I
No,
did
that
think
was
about it for like
amazing.
24 hours after. I'm like, why did I do that? And then I'm like, pure adrenaline. That's why.
Yeah, no, it was really cool to witness your the pure joy, exuberance, like happiness, like accomplishment, just in like a sentence, right? So that was really cool
It's
to
been a long
watch.
pandemic. It's been a long pandemic.
Chelsea,
Well,
thank you for this
yeah, thank
opportunity to
you.
like come on here and express myself and talk. And yeah,
Anytime.
I appreciate it. And congrats on your first season.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for listening to this first season. And yeah, feel free to re listen to every single episode too. Bye.